Hey, how's it going? It's Grant with the Garden of Eden, and today we're going to be talking about RO units. Do you need one? What one do you need? How do you set it up? How do you take care of the entire thing and whatnot? I'm basically going to walk you through everything, starting off with I've got good news. We've actually got a new unit ourselves, and I'm able to crank out RO water faster than ever before. So, maintenance back around the house, everything like that. Everything's going to be back to normal, and we'll start, growing moss again like crazy. I've actually gotten into the rhythm a little bit, and was able to move around a couple of shrimp in some tanks. Shelby's whole shrimp room now, got an entire water change on it. And she's actually got a bunch of babies and whatnot in some of the tanks that we didn't even know because there was so much biofilm and everything like that in front of the tanks. We didn't even know that there was babies and whatnot there. So how's it going, Scotty, Jesse, Jay? Probably 2 weeks away from seeing you, I hope. And a banana, nice to see you as well. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. It's going to be more on the book. I'm going to stick to the live topic stream. I've got quite a few live topic, the live stream topic. I've got quite a few notes to go through, but basically, for us, RO unit is essential for Caridina shrimp. And, there's several different necessities for RO units throughout the aquarium hobby industry as a whole. You could use it for discus. You could use it for saltwater. There's plenty of soft water cory cats and plecos and pistos and stuff like that you would need RO water and softer water for and whatnot. So I feel like this knowledge can carry on to other people's hobbies. And if you are here for Caridina shrimp, maybe hearing all of those other things will encourage you to take that further step, because you can also do all the other things that I mentioned. Not to say that you can't do those with tap water and stuff like that, but for Caridina shrimp specifically, right? Tap water is not very consistent. I even in some states that we travel to, the TDS or total dissolved solids is really low. It's just not low enough. I'll talk more about total dissolved solids and stuff like that. But the inconsistency, not being exactly perfect on what you want. If you have RO water, you can mix exactly what minerals, salt content that you need to take care of whatever specific parameters to house the critters that you want, right? And to me personally, when I first looked into getting Caridina shrimp, and I didn't even realize they needed RO water and stuff like that. I was doing tiger shrimp and crystal shrimp, and they weren't doing really well. And I looked up why they weren't doing well, and I figured out my water wasn't perfect for them. It was all right to keep them, and that was a lot of the information on Google back then was all over the place. Even on the forums, people were keeping them in all different kind of water parameters, and people were just talking RO, and weren't talking about remineralizer as much, and it was just very, very confusing. But when I kind of went down the rabbit hole myself, I looked into specific units and YouTube videos and stuff like that, and the first initial searches and everything that I was coming across at first was like, man, I'm gonna have to be a plumber to like make this work and to get the unit where I need it to be. And I don't want to worry about leaks and having to seal up the wall and stuff like that afterwards and cutting into stuff. Like I've done basic drywall and stuff, but I've never really cut into copper and had to reseal it, especially not in a house or anything like that. I've done it on the outside of the house with my dad, but never alone. And I was just like, you know what? Maybe Caridina shrimp aren't for me. And then, again, this was 11, 12 years ago now. We came across a unit, and it had like a connector piece. And I was like, you know what? I think I can go to Home Depot with this connector piece and make a fitting that will fit onto the sink, like a garden hose attachment piece. And I use basically clamps, some hose, and the fittings that came with the pump, and I was able to make it work. And it kind of leaked at first, and I just tightened the clamps a little bit more and was able to get it, working. It really sucked when I had to use that sink for something else because it wasn't really easy to take apart. The clamps and everything made the whole thing stiff, and I couldn't rotate it without taking the clamps off. So it wasn't very convenient. And then later, I stumbled across an actual fitting that you can just plug in. You can get them for both sides of the RO fitting. Off the top of my head, I don't know the exact sizes that the RO fittings go by, but I've got two different size fittings that I use. And you can change it up depending on what hoses you use. And you can basically connect it to your garden hose. Our sink in our laundry room is able to go ahead and screw it onto there. Some of the faucets in the house, the little screen mesh guard will unscrew, and you're able to screw it onto there. So it's a lot more convenient and easier to just start up than I thought. Also, like the whole pressurized tank thing that some of the RO units come with, that was like, all right, now I got to get a pressure gauge, and you still need a pressure gauge. I'll get to that also, but there was a bunch of things that were just confusing with the tank and having to use all that. And in the end, I was able to bypass that and basically dumb it down for myself to make it more convenient. And in the future, I want to do like a RO video where it's maybe 5 to 10 minutes long on how to connect an RO unit. But this is at least getting the conversation going and getting people started. And you can easily do your own research now, and there's way better resources, YouTube videos and stuff like that out there to get started. And get into Caridina shrimp keeping a lot easier. And I think that is, again, one of the main reasons why a lot of people are not in the Caridina hobby is because you need the RO unit, you need GH only minerals, and the RO unit, it's a little bit expensive. You can find really cheap units sometimes on Amazon and eBay, like the 4-stage units for like $50 to $75. I'm not sure if those prices are still legit these days, but surely $150 you can get a good 4 to 5 stage unit that should take care of most of your needs. But for me, we were using a 500 gallon per day RO unit, and it worked great for a couple of weeks. And then my water company in my county decided to totally go through and change all of its pipes and reconstruct its water system. And the closed loop system, basically, that was once running perfect pressure, and I say perfect, it was at least suitable for the system. I was getting 50 to 70 PSI, depending on, if Shelby was running any water, if I was running water or anything like that. The more people using water, the less PSI the RO unit got, but it was at least doable. I was getting at least decent water. Then once the water company came in and started doing some changes and working on it, we went down to like 30 PSI. And if anybody is using water, it gets even lower than 30 PSI, and it's fluctuating. And the booster pump wasn't functioning right for it because it's so low PSI at sometimes. And it's just rough to work with, right? So we ended up going from a 500 gallon per day unit to a 200 gallon per day unit that doesn't necessarily need the booster pump, but it has one built into it. And I'm actually getting over 200 gallons per day of RO water now. So it's flowing faster than ever, coming out at perfect 0 TDS. And I'll talk about my filter more in the end, not in the end, more in a little bit here when I talk about what RO units are perfect, so I don't double repeat myself. How's it going, Zach, Malcolm, Richard Reynolds, Stephen P, just a couple of people here. But I saw a question, Scotty. I have found that the biggest issue is getting the remineralizer to the right spot, followed by remembering to turn the water off and not overflow. So for me, uh, the remineralizer was a bit of an issue at first. I was mixing the water relatively quickly and doing my water changes within an hour, or I was using salts and mixing it up and letting it even stir for a couple of hours. So I thought it was all mixed up, and it was still, fluctuating a little bit. So what I recommend for people, if you are using salty shrimp salts, you can use a good amount of RO water and a little bit of salt, and pretty much pre dissolve your minerals and make a liquid solution that you can do your water changes with, and it'll dissolve and mix into your water column of your water change water a lot faster. So that way you don't have to wait overnight or anything like that to get your water. I still wait an hour and let the water thoroughly mix, so that way it doesn't fluctuate as much. But if you're not going to mix your liquids, I do suggest, mixing your water overnight with a little pump, checking on it again, and you might have to add a tiny bit of salt or a tiny bit of RO water to adjust when it comes to that. But hopefully that will help you out. But yeah, it's not uncommon. It's part of why for the shrimp contest. And by the way, registration is open for the California Aquashella shrimp contest. It is in like 3 weeks, so you still got plenty of time to prep your shrimp and register and get them all signed up. But we get in there usually a day earlier than all the other shows. Like, I'm not going to take a hit on the Keystone Clash, Scotty, but you guys in most of the shows, your water is mixed, the day beforehand, and then the show is one day, and you're getting all the fish in it at the same time, and then the show runs for another day, and then it's over. For the Aquashella, we get in there a day earlier, so I'm able to prep my water and mix my water and get that all settled a whole day in advance. So we'll have that all done on a Thursday, and then we get all the fish and everything, shrimp, all into the tanks on Friday at the end of the day. So that way the water is fully prepped and has time to mix with the substrate and lower the pH of the water, as well as the minerals fully dissolve and make sure they're on point for everybody's shrimp. So that's why we do like running the shrimp contest at Aquashella. But, we were able to do it with some water from Scotty, and I just let the minerals sit pretty much all day on Friday, I think. No, I think it was on Thursday, and before we added all the shrimp in, and it worked out great. Just the longer you go, the better. Yeah, we will get those awards out. We forgot to bring it up to you, Scotty, so we'll get that shipped up to you. Have you heard of people using zero water filter pitchers? I used it for a little, and the TDS was 0 to 2, but it didn't want to risk anything getting through the filter that I couldn't test for. So, we've heard people using them. The only problem with them is they don't last very long, and it's not a very effective, efficient way of getting your water. So, I'll dive into more of my systems and setups in a little bit. I'm about to talk about that next, but most of the time, a RO unit is going to take about 97% of the minerals out of the water. So if you're starting off with 100 TDS out of your tap water, most of them, this is just average, you'll end up with like 3 TDS afterwards. And then from there, as your filters kind of, get used up, they get clogged up, they're not as efficient, your TDS will start to climb. Generally speaking, I would let my TDS get it to about 8, and then I would make sure I go ahead and replace the filters and whatnot. So that way the KH or any of the other hard metals or anything like that we don't test for. Wouldn't be an issue in the water. So anything less than 8 TDS, total dissolved solids, and to test that, any calibrated TDS pen off of Amazon, eBay, a cheap one is fine. Get some calibration fluids and test it out before you use it. Calibrate it if you have to, but it is a method. Is TDS is 200, so that pitcher's a little above average. But you're still going to want to check after every single pour, basically, that you have, under 8 TDS. And if it is over 8, check it out. But you want to, maybe check out an RO unit if you're using that already, and look into like that 2 TDS might actually be all carbonate hardness. I don't know what is like left behind for drinking water, because when we were doing research on RO water, like for the hurricanes and everything I came across said don't drink your RO water. It could actually pull out all the salt content and not be good for you and dehydrate you, and instead of rehydrating you. So there's always like some type of minerals that are put into water bottles, so that way you can actually get mineralized yourself. So you definitely want to look into an RO unit maybe for yourself. If it's getting down to 2 TDS, maybe a little Himalayan salt or something into the water will get you the minerals that you need. I'm not sure. That's something you got to do your own research on. Why specifically 8 rather than 5 or 12? I think 8 is just a number that somebody else was using on the shrimp spot. Maybe it was Plamsky, maybe it was Andrew Wayne, just somebody else that I had trusted that said 8, or I read it somewhere. And that's just always been something I've been comfortable with. Over the years, 8 was the most that I would let it climb to, right? But I'm going to talk about like when to replace your filters and stuff like that. And like when it gets to 5, I replace certain filters, right? So as it climbs, I replace the filters and make sure that my unit is all primed and checks out. So sometimes it's been 5. It just all really depends on what I've got going on. If I've got extra filters, for me, it's really nice to have like Aqua FX is at a lot of these shows. So at the end of a show, when I do really well, I've got extra money in my pocket. We'll go to other vendors, and I'll make sure I take care of my axolotls. I'll go to Lisa at Super Cichlids, and I'll buy the blackworm pellets, the freeze dry ones, so I don't have to worry about the freezer having any ickies for Shelby or anything like that. I'll go to Jeremy at Aqua FX, and I'll take care of some DI cartridges or something like that. So I always have extra filters on hand. Above Jaden's bed is a loft, and on the other side of it, I've got all my storage for all my RO filters. So I've got all my sediment filters, carbon, everything like that. Even though I don't have those units, I still have a ton of extras just for in case emergencies and stuff like that. I'd rather have them on deck than not have them. But those are just the numbers that I had felt comfortable with. So what RO unit would work the best for you? If your TDS is under 100, this isn't a unit I've ever personally used. This is just a popular one that's thrown out a lot out there. It's very cheap, and that's the RO Buddy. It's a 4-stage unit. They might sell like a 5-stage unit, but it's very easy, plug and play. And this will work for a lot of people for quite some time, especially if you don't have a lot of aquariums. This might be a really cheap and effective way for you to get your Caridina hobby up and running. The filters aren't that expensive to replace. Overall, it should be pretty easy for you to connect it just how I connect my RO unit to the sink. And, if you don't want it on the wall screwed up and hanging there all the time. You can put it underneath the sink. You could, store it away, unplug it. The quick connects that the RO systems come with are a little tricky to figure out how to like get them, especially my fat thumbs and no nails. It's a little bit hard for me, but you just press down the actual connector and you pull out the hose, and when you want to connect it, you just push it in again, and it's really quick and easy. I just use a little screwdriver to hold the connector part down while I pull it out when I have to change the membranes and stuff like that. But the higher your TDS is in your tap water, the more you're going to want to invest into a better RO unit. So for me, we live in Florida, and everybody automatically assumes it's Florida, and we've got super hard water. Now, technically, a lot of people will consider hard water being over 200 total dissolved solids. Our tap water comes out about 170 to 180, and that's just under being hard water. Then other people will define it as like if you have a shower running and the little residue that's left after the water dries and stuff like that will leave behind the hard water stains. And how do you get it from other than having hard water? So it's a little bit hard. That's just the mineral content. The more showers you take and the less it dries, or the more it dries and whatnot, it'll eventually happen to just about everybody's tap water, unless their tap is running straight RO water, right? So if you just go down the road about 45 minutes to the Florida State Fair, their tap water comes out about 700 to 1,000 total dissolved solids. So if we were to use an RO unit for there, we'd have to use more of a professional grade unit that would have a couple of DI stages on the back end of it to kind of absorb all that total dissolved solids that's not going to get eaten up by the membrane. Membrane, I'm cracking up tonight. And taken care of that way. So that's why it's really important to have a TDS pen and know your tap water before you go into this. There's a lot of people when we travel that their water is under 100, and that small 4-stage RO buddy is going to be more than enough for them. It's going to do them just fine. But certain parts around Texas and Florida, and I'm not sure, like other states that have really hard water, everywhere else has seemed to be pretty on the low side. And you also want to make sure that you don't have a water softener. If you have a water softener, your KH could also be really high, and then you would need a RO unit, so that way you can start off with basically a blank slate, because you don't want to go and mineralize even water that's been softened and the KH is so high. Your shrimp are going to have issues molting, your baby survival rate and everything like that's going to go down really low. So when we start talking about like 7 stages and the DI and the resin and stuff like that, it's just that it is a resin, and it just is a super soaker of all the minerals and just leaves out the water on the other side. There isn't any wastewater out of the DI. It just coming flowing out of that perfect 0 TDS, basically takes out all of the pristine metals even, and you'll kind of see it as it gets wasted. You can replace it when it needs to be, but for us, the DI is essential, so that way our water is pristine all the time, even when we're having issues with the water pipes that are being replaced right in front of our house or something like that. So water boil or anything like that, if you have the DI resin on it, that's going to be essential. And that's basically the difference between the RO system and a DI, is that resin attachment at the end. Scotty with another question, just making sure the TDS is in sufficient range, or do you at least got to test GH, KH each time? So different shrimp keepers will go based off of this a little bit differently. For me, I tested it, and every single time I tested the GH and KH, it came back the same thing every single time. And for me, the only time the KH matters at all is with these shrimp, the Caradinas, behind me. So if I'm testing my salts and I'm getting a 30 TDS to 1 GH ratio, and I'm testing that every single time, and eventually you're going to give up and you're just going to test with the easy TDS pen and stop going and cleaning API test tubes and using the droppers and shaking it up and all that stuff every single time you do water changes. You just get tired of doing it. And you just trust that your TDS pen is going to have the exact right amount, right? So your RO water is taking out all of the KH. You're using just GH only minerals, and then you go to the right TDS, and it's going to be the same GH minerals every single time, as long as you're using the same salts. The only time I would test the GH again is if the salts changed on it, not like changed on us, but if we were trying a different brand or something like that. I do believe we can now order. Richard, that's why I haven't gotten back to you. I checked with the Bloomfields. I can make another order with Glass Garden. So I'll probably be doing that after the California show, and I'll make sure I take care of your GHKH for you. So, but as long as you're comfortable and you've tested it a few times, then you can trust to just use your TDS. Do you mineralize from your RO for your Neos or just the Caradina? My tap water, and 90% of the people watching this, if you live in the United States, your water is going to be good enough out of the tap water for Neo Caradina. You just needed to use a dechlorinator. We've been using Complete lately. You can also use Prime or any kind of dechlorinator. Just remove those chlorines or chloramines, and then your water should be good enough. You just test it with the TDS pen, your GH and KH kit at first. Make sure it's right, but more than likely, unless you have a water softener or you live right by the coast, your water is going to be good enough for Neocaridina shrimp. So we don't worry about any of the Neos other than the chlorine for our water. And the 7-stage unit is what we use. And then I have attached to it a carbon tower. The carbon is very important, and it might be one of the most important things to make sure that you stay up on top of. The carbon filter for us is the first thing that the water travels for before it goes into the RO system. Before, it used to be the sediment filter, and then it would go into a pre-carbon, and then after it would go into a post-carbon filter. But everyone's filters are going to be a little bit different depending on what brand you buy. For us now, though, I've already invested in this large tower. It's for a pool pump sediment filter. You reverse it, you put a bunch of gravel in it and a bunch of charcoal, and basically that absorbs all of the chlorines and chloramines for 50,000 gallons worth of water. So I don't need to replace that for quite some time. And I don't need to not constantly, but every 3 to 4 months replace my carbon filters. So when I'm heavily using my RO system, and I've got the smaller units that have the post and pre-carbon, I was replacing the carbons every 3 to 4 months, like I mentioned. And the reason why I was doing that is because if your chlorine gets into your membrane's doing all the work. And if chlorine gets into it, then it's just going to get eaten up, and the efficiency of your RO filter is just going to be trash, and you're going to be spending a lot more money on membranes than you are on the cheap carbon filters. So I know I don't really advise people to use carbon in their aquariums, freshwater anyways. It's more of a medicine cabinet thing for me than something that we keep in the aquariums at all the times. But it is a necessity when you're talking about your RO system. It is pulling out those chemicals that are killing your shrimp, the same as the Aquachar would be doing in your tanks. So you've got your carbon filters, then you've got your sediment filters. Your sediment filters is just picking up any of that sand and the big heavy debris that is going to clog up your membrane and make it run less efficiently, right? In your pipes, when they clean the main system, everything like that, there's going to be little bits of sand that fall through from digging out the pipe and repairing it and stuff like that. So this can make its way all the way through your house. So that sediment filter is kind of like that trap to make sure that it's not damaging your membrane. All of these filters are just basically to protect your membrane. The membrane is, like I mentioned, the big player here. You want to make sure that you have a good and efficient one. Basically, all the hardware is pretty much the same for most of the 5-stage units. And if you wanted to get like a 75-gallon one to start with, and then you needed to upgrade later on in the future, there's probably membranes up to 200 gallons per day that will fit that same unit, and you can swap that out in the future. But you want to make sure that you take care of all the other ones, and you're replacing your membrane every 6 months to a year. You're replacing your sediment filter every 3 to 4 months. Same with your carbon filters. I usually replace them about the same time. They're really cheap. You can go on eBay, Amazon, and buy the really, really cheap ones in big bulk packs. That's why I had so many of them. But you could splurge a little bit and get some of the more expensive ones, and you don't have to replace them as frequently. But I always just felt comfortable with the cheap ones, replacing them every 3 to 4 months. And I say 3 to 4 months because like some months or multiple months at a time, we're doing a lot of traveling, and I'm just not doing as much water changes around here. But like the winter time, I'm probably replacing them every 3 months. So that way I'm not going through a membrane every year. And our membranes usually last about a year. And when do I know to replace the membrane? The membrane, if I notice that the TDS has climbed to like 3 to 5, I'll go, all right, when was the last time I replaced my carbon, my post carbon, and my sediment filter? Now I don't have to worry about carbon, like I mentioned, but the other ones in the past, I would replace those. If the TDS went down slightly, then it was a lack of pressure because the sediment filter was a little bit clogged up, and so it wasn't able to travel through there the right way, and it was causing the rest of the system to run efficiently. If you replace that one and the TDS doesn't go down, then your membrane is on the way out. And again, you can test the TDS, make sure that it doesn't creep up past 8. Once it does, we want to replace that membrane, and you got to flush it out. I usually flush it for about 30 minutes. I know it's like wasting a lot of water, but I'll use that water to water the garden or to top off some crawfish tanks in the garage or something like that I'm not really worried about. And I'll use some Prime as well to take care of any of the hard minerals if I am using that water. I just don't use it for my Caridina tanks because I don't want any chance of any of the KH getting through the system while it's getting flushed out. If you're preparing water days early, are you worried about the pH dropping when you leave RO water sitting out? Are you ever worried about pH with RO water? No, I'm never actually worried about the pH of the RO water, and it's not really days that I'm leaving the water prepared for. My RO water might sit for a couple of days, but once I mix it with the minerals, it's within 18 hours that it's going to get used for the aquariums generally. Sorry. Even like when we got a hurricane coming or we'll go on vacation, I'll mix a jug of RO water and all the salts and just have one that's there in case Dante has to do an emergency water change on anything at the house. He doesn't have to make RO water from scratch, right? He can just set it up and empty the tank and fill it up, right? So the pH is going to be different when it's coming out of the RO water. And then when you hit it with minerals and you hit it with the pump or you gas it, you start to add oxygen to the water, back to the water. The RO filter is going to absorb a lot of that oxygen out. And then what happens is your pH is going to actually climb back to whatever your tap water originally was. of your the pH of your tap water originally was. So for us, our tap water is 7.2 to 7.4 pH, and when you gas or turn the pump on for the RO water, the pH will come out originally at 6, and then it slowly climbs back up, even without any minerals in it, back to 7.2. There's just very slight trace amounts of molecules that are left in the water that are going to alter the pH still, right? And they're going to basically take care of that until they're used all up. But I never give it enough time to let it drop back down again. And man, I wish I knew the name of the videos, but my science teacher used to make us watch these videos where this guy would try to like vacuum out all of the air out of the side of a jar, and he's like, "You'll never get them all out of the jar, though. There's too many molecules, too many molecules." And my teacher would scream that like 5 times at us. Florida learning, it was great. Oinky, how you doing? After you began using RO water in your tanks, did any of the plants seem different? Example, more color saturation, overall seeming healthier. So for me, the RO water goes hand in hand with the aqua soil, and aqua soil alone is going to do wonders for your plants. So giving the credit to the RO water and the 0 kH, it doesn't really mean anything if I'm not using CO2. So it's not really a game changer for the plants. There's some of them like some Anubias like soft water, some Anubias like harder water. Like they do very differently depending on the varieties of just Anubias. Some crypts will do the same thing. Some of the stem plants will do better in softer water, but some will do really, really well in hard water still. So the RO water isn't a answer to me for plants. Stephen P is probably going to be better on that topic though than I am. And Shelby asked ChatGPT about the pH, and it replied, "Nah. What does it know about pH of water?" And Scotty, is it okay to make large amounts of mixed remineralized water at a time and store it for months, so that you do not have to test so often, just once? Would you have a pump moving water? So here's my thing, and I've talked about this before. When you store water, it has this smell. And I don't know what the smell is. Mold. It's completely sealed. There's no light on it. It's just like stale water. And I've had a lot of people talk about like just tossing it out and throwing it out. I think maybe one time it happened, and I was like, I'm just not going to let this happen anymore. So I don't cover it anymore. And when you don't cover it, it's adding more moisture into the air and whatnot, but it adds like a way for dust to get in it. So like if I were to recommend somebody that wanted to like store water, you're gonna lose some of it because of evaporation and stuff like that. But I would like put a little bit of mesh on it, but then you still have to test it. I would just say, Scotty, mix your water when it's ready or when you need to for the shrimp the night beforehand. It should just be more full of oxygen and everything else that's going to be better for your shrimp overall. Get some IBC totes for the basement. He's got his own house now. He can go crazy. Yeah, Shelby's not feeling the best tonight. That's why she's not on the stream. And I'm hoping Myra's asleep. She's been falling asleep sooner and sooner every night. Yeah, the smell of a brute trash can from a week old is amazing. Yeah, he speaks with experience. It's not something I recommend you do. That's all I'm saying. Now the last part to the filtration is the DI cartridges. They have color changing resin, so that way you can see when it's actually depleting and when it's fully gone. You'll notice like a slight TDS creep up before the DI is completely depleted, but as soon as it's depleted, you can replace it. There's refillable cartridges. That's pretty cheap, pretty easy to make. Do it yourself, or you can just buy replacement ones. It's still not that expensive, but replacing them, the filters and everything again, it's not that complicated. You're not going to need to hire a plumber or anything like that to take care of it. There's little tools that come with most of the kits. At least all the ones I got from Aqua FX also come with a little tool to take off the filters. It's super easy. You tighten them with the tool, and it's a lot easier than what it sounds, or like your first initial Google searches is going to make you think like you got to be a plumber with some type of degree. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. And then the next thing that you're going to want to take a look into is going to be your water pressure. For us, that was the big issue, right? Before, our water pressure was 50 to 70, and then it was 30 to 0, depending on how much water was running in the house. And so what we ended up going with was a booster pump. It's already plugged in. It was a little bit more expensive. However, you get the instant self-gratification of just plugging it in and it working right away. Again, with the quick connects, you can get an easy adjuster to go right onto your sink or your garden hose or anything like that. But you can add on a booster pump into your system after the fact too. You can find them for like $100 up to like $280 for like an automated one that'll shut off, and you can use float valves and all that stuff to make your whole thing flood proof. But that's no fun. I don't enjoy the risk of that. I like waking up in the middle of the night thinking whether or not I left the RO water running, because that'll get the heart rate going, and I'll live an extra 15 years just because of that. And the booster pumps, though, again, they're not that complicated. They're pretty easy to plumb right into the system, as long as you're not running float valves and sensors and everything like that. If you are, then you are better than I am, because I wasn't able to figure out all the sensors and everything. I'm going to have Jeremy come speak for our club and do like an RO water talk, and then have him hook up the professional unit with all the sensors, so that way I can have that one running in the future. But the booster pump, it not only makes it so that way you have the right water pressure, but it also makes your whole system more efficient. So instead of you getting 75 gallons of water a day, you could potentially get 100 to 150. You could get a lot better efficiency on water loss. Some of the systems will be like you get 1 gallon of RO water for 5 gallons of wastewater. And you can, of course, dial that wastewater down with the DI system, and you can put a lot more water through the DI, and you're going to save a lot of water, but go through a lot more water cartridges, which might be something you want to look into if you're in like a water shortage state like California or something like that. Then you can really just use up a lot of DI, and it won't even cost you as much money as running that much water. And the booster pump also could pay for itself in time by the efficiency. Instead of us losing 4 gallons of water without it, I'm only losing about 1 gallon of water, and for every gallon of water that I'm getting. So that's super efficient right now. And even if I go through the filters quite quickly, trying to maintain the entire house and everything like that, it's definitely worth it. And I'm only going to go through it quickly because we have 500 aquariums in the house, and a majority of them are on RO water. So you can see like some tanks behind me definitely need to be seeking some attention. And those were the next ones to get done after Shelby's room, Layla's room, Jaden's room. the behind the couch, the front door, all of that was taken care of when Benny Tay was here. So that's not that bad. These ones are like the last ones to get taken care of because a lot of times when people come over, most of the people don't. A lot of times Jaden's here when other people come over, so he's hogging up the space. But they won't even come around to the side and look at this too much. There's seats over there on the other side where you can view the tanks a little bit better. But every now and then you'll find some people that are here. Grant, how are you feeling? Please, no offense. I'm only saying this out of concern. You look exhausted. If I am exhausted, it is just because I have been shopping all day and we woke up really early so that way we can go get a bunch of Halloween decorations. If you guys have not seen a couple of our last shorts, please check them out. Shelby went all in on some Halloween themed videos. And there's a lot more coming, like a lot more coming. So the best is yet to come. I think the best one of them all was the last one that we had posted, and it's titled "You Must Watch to the End." We just retitled that one. It was titled "The Tank Was a Trap," but I don't think enough people were watching to the actual part that wraps the whole video up and makes it good. So please take some time to watch those videos because Shelby went all in and really did a great job at it. I might be just a tad bit tired though. We went through Sunday and I got all of the Halloween decorations, all of the Christmas decorations out of the attic. And we've been meaning to do this for a very long time, but I also put all of the Take Care Skittle Pook. I took care of all of the stuff that was in bins of me and Shelby's that just needed to go into the attic. Trophies and old keepsakes that are just better protected up in the attic. Where they're out of the way of all of our aquascaping and whatnot. So there's going to be a lot more space here after the Halloween decorations are down and the Christmas decorations go back up in the attic. So the first of the new year, we should be cranking out a bunch of aquascaping content and stuff like that. I talked with Shelby. There's something that I think I would really enjoy doing. I think Shelby's kind of got her thing with her aquascaping and not just going out into nature, but with her Pisces and her tanks and everything like that. I've kind of got like a different vibe where I'm going to go with mine. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. But we'll have the studio a little bit more accessible, be able to go out there. I'm going to have to get some Wi-Fi extenders so that way we can get proper connection into the garage, or maybe I just run a cable. No, I don't want to run a cable, but yeah, we definitely want to start pumping out more of the aquascape content. Oinky actually sent me another cutting board because told her about something. I'm not going to spoil anything, but the cutting board came out perfectly. Thank you so much. I absolutely love it. I am now on the search anytime we go into like a Ross or a TJ Maxx or something like that. I'm always looking at the kitchenware to try and find something that's going to be just perfect for what we're looking for. But I might have to just bite the bullet and like have one custom made online or something like that. I haven't even looked, honestly. We've been so busy with everything else, but after Aquashella, that's going to be one of the top of my priority lists. But we've set up something incredible already. Shelby's got to do some filming tonight. Not tonight, tomorrow night. We've still got some tweaking we need to do on what we set up, but the neighbors are probably looking at us very, very strangely the last few days. Let's just say that. So when you hook up your RO unit, It's really simple. You've got a water line that goes into the sediment filter or the carbon filter, depending on what brand you have and what kind of exact setup you have. But that's basically going to run through everything, and then through the membrane, and then out the other side of the membrane, you're going to get your wastewater as well as your actual RO water line. So you run your RO water line into like a brute trash can or water storage or something like that, and you're able to use it from there. And then your wastewater, it's dechlorinated. It's going to be higher in mineral content and everything like that. You can potentially use that, and instead of it being wastewater, it could be redirected water for crawfish or neocaridina or something like that. That's something that we're going to be doing next year for sure. I'm going to get that set up this winter. It's already cooling off, but I've got my priorities in check. I know I got to take care of the house first. I'm already doing some stuff outside and taking care of some things that little projects here and there that I want to get started with. So just setting the wheels in motion, basically getting the gears turning. But the water drip line from our wastewater is going to feed another set of IBC totes for more neocaridina next year. We've extended a little bit into some wholesale this year. We're breeding more neocaridina than ever. Sales on the website are great. We're keeping up with that demand. And I think if we just set up the other side of the house, we could reach out to a lot more mom and pop stores and maybe bigger facilities like wholesalers and stuff like that by the end of the year. There's never been a higher demand for homebred, United States bred shrimp. There's tariff issues, logistic issues, shipping prices are so high these days that it's actually worth breeding some outdoor shrimp. You're looking for cutting boards? Anything specific? I'm setting up to make a few grain boards. No, Oinky had some really nice custom made cutting boards already made for us. I don't want to ruin it. The next thing that I need made is like out of metal. So any metal workers out there that want to collab with me, then I'll let you in on my secrets. Any reason not to use the wastewater for non-caridina tanks, like fish-only tanks? It's going to be harder water, so you're going to have more issues with hard water stains. If you have cichlids, it's probably going to be really good water for cichlids. But your South American species of fish and stuff like that, you might want to look into just wasting it, using it for your garden or something like that. Man, someone redirected their wastewater to be used in a water holding tank that was then used for their laundry. So like you can get super creative. I think that was in a shrimp or a reef keeper maybe in California. Zach, if you want to email me, then I've got some tiny requirements. But yeah, I could use something. There's a guy in the Northeast that has been making signs for YouTubers. They look amazing. I would want a sign also. Shelby really wants a neon sign, but a metal sign is cool. I really love my wooden sign that was burnt in. And yeah, anything handmade, personal is always special. But it's not like that. This is for content, for me to make content. All right, so I mean, have this guy contact Shelby. It's probably something Shelby wants. And then the replacement filters I talked about, like replacing with cheaper ones off of Amazon or eBay. When you buy a brand new unit, I swear they use like the top of the line filters because they last the longest for me, period, when I get a brand new unit. Even with flushing it, you would think that they wouldn't last that long with certain parts, all of them being flushed at once. No, when I buy a brand new unit, fresh off the lot, the filters run from any system that I've tried anyways. I've used a lot of BRS units, a couple of the Aqua FX, but the filters last incredibly long. And then when you replace them with the cheaper ones, of course, they're not going to last as long. If you want to, like, if you're buying a BRS unit or the Aqua FX units and you buy their premium line filter, that's probably what they're starting the units off with. So just to know that one, if you're curious on how well a more expensive unit will last, it'll probably be the same length as the ones you start off with. When you use the quick connectors and you set it all up, and you got to make cuts to the tubing and stuff like that, and you plug it all in and you test it out. If you're having any leaks at the connects, one thing I learned, just recut it. I know sometimes you didn't save any space for any trimming. That's why I always recommend like an inch or two at least, so that way you can make a fresh cut if need be. Anytime one of the quick connects leaked, it's only happened to me twice, but I just recut the line, plugged it back in, and it worked just fine. So, I mean, a couple times before you do that, try smashing it in there just a wee bit more. How's it going, Johnny Best? Nice to see you. Yeah, Shelby was worried about me spending an entire hour talking about RO unit. And Shelby, you were right. I fell 4 minutes short, even with my chat. Not really sure. Johnny Best with the gifted membership. Thank you so much. If you're the lucky person to receive that gifted membership, please email us at the Garden of Eater, the Garden of Eater at gmail.com, and send us your name, YouTube name, as well as your address, so we can send you eventually a sticker, but we can give you a 10% off code to our website, tgoeshrimp.com. How's it going, Beto Great Lakes? And then, yes, we got Shelby in the chat with us. Shelby also did another video on the YouTube channel on the IBC, the International Beta show that was at the the San Antonio Lone Star Convention. Lots of beautiful betas. And she did just some basic information on betta fish as a whole. Doesn't have a lot of views. So chances are you haven't seen it yet. I appreciate it if you checked it out, left a comment, get that one going. Mean a lot to us. So really, Shelby's been killing it, producing a lot of content. So it's like I had to get my butt into gear and get that RO unit going, because again, if it's not water changes, I'm really not doing much. I feed all the shrimp. Shelby does that too, though. I cull and move shrimp around, but and I catch shrimp for orders. But Shelby catches way more Neos every week than I've caught shrimp all year, probably. So, oh, this is not for me. Yeah, he's been making that's for Shelby. He's been making the signs though, so that's pretty cool. Oh, so Oinky saw the video. So yeah, if Oinky says it was a great video, you better believe it. And of course, I'm Shelby's biggest critic, and I made her re-edit the entire video. So please go watch it. She put double the amount of effort into something that she didn't need to, just to make it nice for you guys. The Halloween skits are hilarious. I'm glad she didn't overheat. Yeah, one of them is filmed by Jaden. One of them is filmed by me. And I bet unless you saw me post it on Facebook, bet you can't guess which one is filmed by who. Jaden killed his film job. And Shelby posted like a photo of her overheating. It wasn't even filming the content. The day she posted that, we were just out there collecting. It was hot out there regardless. But yeah, the Halloween mask was definitely making things more hot. Shelby's got another video to go with one of the videos. That's even like a funnier, like the behind the scenes isn't always crazy or funny, but this is kind of like it only happens in Florida kind of thing. So that's going to be a fun little one to post a little later on. But I think I'm more excited for what's in our front yard, though. That's definitely gonna turn some heads here. And yeah, Shelby had the waders on, the mask, and it's not exactly like fall yet. Some days it's nice and cool. It feels nice and cool for maybe like the first 2-3 hours of the day of daylight, and then it gets hot really, really fast here in Florida. Um, I'm probably in the worst shape of my life. I got to be honest. So I'm going collecting. I'm going back to the car. I'm cooling off in the car. And Shelby was just out there pretty much the entire time, constantly getting multiple things done and taken care of. So she killed it. And yeah, if you could check out the content, that would be great. I talked about registration being open for the Aquashella Shrimp Contest. If you made it this far, Zach, please. This is the first contest in California, shrimp contest that I know of. I know of like a really small one that happened in Omaha. I know of that's Oklahoma, right? I think so. I know of a very small one that happens every year in North Carolina. We have the Aquashella that's traveled to Chicago, Dallas, Florida, New Jersey now. There's been the aquatic experience that just happened in Jersey and Chicago for the international contest. But the shrimp scene in California is quite incredible back in the day, and it is now. There's not many shrimp keepers there at all. I can't even find an active shrimp breeder in California to be the judge. We've got Clemente from Shrimp Studio. I'm not sure if he lives in California or where exactly he lives, but he's going to be there. He's going to be a judge. We've got Mike Coleman driving in. He's going to be there. He's going to be a judge. I think he's going to enter some shrimp, whatever shrimp he enters in the contest. We've got Tim Crypt Keeper. He's going to judge, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to participate and judge to make sure each category gets 3 judges, so that way everybody gets a nice and fair trial of their shrimp being judged. Every judge has their different preferences and stuff like that. So um, it's going to be a good one. Maybe Deuce Shrimp will be able to go there and he'll judge again. But it's going to be a good Aquashella. Whether or not it's going to be a good shrimp contest depends on you guys. We need people to send in their shrimp. And if you were considering on sending shrimp in or not, this is the contest to send them in on. We've got 50 tanks for this one. And if you watched any of the previous shrimp contest videos, one of the main comments is, and this isn't just on the comments, I see it on the forums and stuff like that, in band group and in the chat, is the quality of some of the shrimp that are being entered aren't up to what people thought were the standard. And if that's the case, please enter your shrimp. It's only $25 to enter the first group, $5 to enter another one, and then it's 25 or so it's like $30 to enter 2 groups. I think some people were able to finagle it a little bit and got like $5 for every group afterwards. And we didn't say anything because that's what we were trying to do, but we couldn't have figured it out. So if it worked for some people, great. But it's supposed the way it ended up being described to me was you buy one group in the category for 25, the second one you get $5 or for only $5. And first place wins $200. You get featured on our our YouTube video that we do of the contest, and it's for the hobby. We're trying to promote the breeders. You can send us with stickers, and we'll put out at the tables around your shrimp tank after the tanks have been judged, and then people you can help get that fan favorite award or the People's Choice Award and stuff like that. This is a great thing to get people involved in the hobby, people that have never seen shrimp before. We've got people that are entering the shrimp contest now that are entering just because they saw it for the first time at Aquashella. So it's really cool to get other people involved in the hobby, to open it up for what could be thousands and thousands of people. They had 7,600 something people go to the Aquashella in Jersey. That was the first one that we did there, uncharted territory. This is at an expo where they do the all pets LA Pet Fair at, and there's like 19,000 people that go through the doors there. So those are for cats and dogs. A lot of people will go for the birds and the reptiles. It's not just fish people, but it's in a good area for pets. And it could be the biggest Aquashella. It could be, just an average. And even an average Aquashella is still a couple thousand people that are able to come and witness our hobby for the first time, maybe. So we like to put on a good show. Aqua L has provided some beautiful tanks for us to fill out with the shrimp. And me and Shelby, we make sure that your shrimp are taken care of the best possible way. We mineralize the water beforehand. We set up the tanks as soon as possible so that way they acclimate as long into the Caridina parameters and they're ready for the shrimp when they get in. Not enough time to, make any beneficial bacteria or anything like that. But in the past, if your shrimp are bred yourself and they're well taken care of, then there's no problem with shipping them across the country and then shipping them back. And yes, we can ship them back. Make sure there's a return label in the box as well as bags. So that way we can use that same box, those same bags, everything to reship your shrimp back to you and take care of that. So my only issue is I need to find a local in California. It's probably going to be Sam Scales. I love you, Sam. That's going to have to take the boxes of shrimp to the post office. How's it going? Joy of fish keeping. Nice to see you. And then we got... I missed something from Scotty. Oh, the deadline. Scotty asked, when is the deadline? And Shelby answered with the 22nd. So you want to ship them in, though. Hold on. Let me look at the calendar for this. Bear with me, please. I hate the silence and the breaks in between conversations and whatnot. But if that's the 22nd, then you want to ship your shrimp in on the 20th if you're doing priority mail, or overnight on Tuesday or Wednesday. I would not do it on Thursday. If you're doing overnight on Thursday and there's any delays, the shrimp are not going to get to the contest. In my experience, if they don't get there on Friday overnight, they're going to get a letter from the staff at the convention center to let them know to forward it back to return to sender, so that way the shrimp make it back home. How's it going, New Local Austin? And you also don't want to wait for the last minute to sign up for the shrimp contest. Me and Shelby are setting up or driving to the contest or packing our bags for the show on the last final days to register, right? And I'm not able to get back to you right away. And there was like 3 or 4 people, maybe 5 people all together on Wednesday that were trying to enter their shrimp in, and they're like, hey, I'm getting this error message. I'm like, oh, that's weird. I haven't seen that one before. And I messaged Joanne. Joanne got back to me, and she's like, oh, yeah, that's because we filled up the contest. And I was like, oh, because not that long ago, we only had like 12 entries, and we had 18 entries get placed on the last day to register. So don't wait last minute and have everything packed up and ready to go and not being able to enter. So we made it cheaper for people so they would participate, send more groups in. But because of that, it can fill up and we don't want that. How's it going, Garcia Aquatics? We'll see you next week. I have found the plant that I can declare the bane of my tank existence, the White Rose Anubias. It is now on agenda to keep this dang plant alive. You already got one? Was it out of a tissue culture cup? If it was, and you kill it, don't be mad at yourself. The solid white ones, they're almost impossible to keep growing. There have been a couple of people with the snow white ones where they're mostly white, but they have like striations of green still. And I think the striations of green is where they're able to do their photosynthesis. And with the solid white ones, they're not. I'm not sure if that's true. Don't quote me on that one. But yeah, Steven said they don't have the will to live, and I believe it's because it lacks their process for photosynthesis. But I am stupid when it comes to that kind of thing. So please don't take my word for it. How's it going, George? George, do you live in California near the event? Somebody mentioned that you possibly live near it. I believe. I think I was supposed to message you, and I totally forgot, and now you're here, and it popped up back in my brain. All right, yeah. So, I guess I'm not that stupid, but I'm not that smart either. So unless it comes to like shrimp genetics and taking care of your shrimp, don't take my word too far. Oregon. Yeah, that's nowhere near. Are you still planning on going to Aquashella? All right. The white ones work well for me growing immersed in a high humidity dome. Um, yeah, I'm sure in like basically tissue culture like conditions they'll do well, but yeah, I don't know how they're able to do photosynthesis when they're solid white like that and able to grow. Are they actually? All right, you said they're growing. No, they work. All right, growing. Yeah. I was about to ask a stupid question. All right. I think I'm gonna wait for George. No, Fishtoberfest is happening that same weekend. Yeah, dang it. That's right. Oh man, if only I knew somebody that had like a jet that could just like go to both events. That would be awesome. Yeah. 2 weeks away. 2 weekends away. Thank you so much. I don't feel as bad if the plant doesn't work to exist in the symbiotic relationship. Yeah, they're really rough to get growing. And if that's why you asked about the RO water, it's going to need RO water. It's going to need fertilizer. It's going to need CO2. It's going to need just the perfect amount of light. And how much of any of that, I don't know what the magic number is. Yeah, and tissue cultures, the way they grow is they're like little baby plants, and I always say like there's three forms of plants that are growing. You got immersed, you got your submerged, and then you got your tissue cultures. And I have mosses that are up here, all the way up in the top tanks that are from tissue cultures, and they are growing very, very weirdly. Like they're still stuck in this weird growth where it's like a premature baby plant and it's just not growing like all the other mosses that I have throughout the other tanks that are well established and growing like any submerged growth would. Still better than immersed growth because when you get immersed growth, moss and other plants like that too, a lot of melting, right? You lose a lot. Not you don't lose. There's not too much melting going on with the tissue culture cups, but they need as if they were babies or like little tiny juveniles that are growing. They need a lot of nutrition, so you gotta treat them with a good little source of nutrition, little CO2 injection or fertilizer tablet is going to go a long way for your tissue culture plants. And it's hard to do with Anubias because you don't want to plant it in the substrate. And if you do, just the roots, just the tips. Just reading through the chat, Stephen P is throwing out a lot of big words like glucose that I don't want to butcher. All right. And I have some stunted boosts from tissue culture. I believe it may have been too many growth hormones in the tissue culture solution. Yeah, that's where I'm just I don't know about it at all. I do know that I have some really good growth out of tissue cultures out of the boosts. And if we get them now, I like ordering the boosts for tissue cultures because they're of course properly harvested, ethically harvested, and they're not going to give me issues with people going, oh, those are poached and da 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 da. So we'll get those, try to sell them at some of the shows or whatever. And if they don't sell, I just use them as floaters. I can't show you because Shelby took them all. There's some in the back of the tank, but yeah, Shelby's been poaching some of my boosts for some of her tanks. But yeah, I hope you guys are able to learn something about RO water and maybe it helped some people out. And next week we'll probably be talking more about the shrimp contest. I'll probably have a better topic as well to talk about. Till then, feel free to reach out to us at thegardenofeater@gmail.com if you have any other questions, need any help with anything like that. But hope you all have a great week. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a good one, y'all.